Hello, motherfuckers. Today I play the second round of the Barbera del Valles Open, and I draw the game against a good player at 22-32 of rating, a young player of Barcelona. I don't know if he's from Barcelona, he's from Catalonia. I'm not really sure if he's from Barcelona or not. Um, okay, let's start with the game. I go with the black pieces. My opponent opens with e4. It was that he opens play e4, and today I decide to play c5. Knight f3. I see many games of my opponent with knight c3. I was some with knight f3, but here in, in two of them he played h3, so I don't pay so much attention to that. But he never play open like that, so I don't expect this. C takes, knight f6, knight c3. And here I used to play neither. I play neither many times, but I don't know what my opponent is prepared against this move. So for this game, I decide to play the, the classical Sicilian. It's the first time in 4 years that I play this move, but yeah, I simply want to deviate my opponent's preparation after e6, so I I don't prepare anything with knight c6, but I simply want to play. So I have some knowledge about the position I play more because I played this position with white, so I know a little bit about what's game, but I don't know theory with black here. Okay, bishop c4. Now I was thinking about play this line, but 95 is a bit too is typical, but I don't remember more about that. I don't know how to continue here. So for this reason, I prefer to play more classical e6 and bishop b3. And now I start to think because I need to choose between some plans. One was play simply with bishop b7, or castle, a6, queen c7. This is the most typical. But I remember that this is and there are many games, of course, with that, but I don't like in general the position for black. So I want to play more in the queen side with bishop d7, rook c8, a6, knight a5. But I don't know why I don't play that dearly. I in the end I play first bishop b7 and to wait where white develop her pieces. But watching now, maybe I should play this first instead of bishop b7 and all of that. Yeah, I don't know if I should play bishop d7 or bishop b7 first. Maybe both moves are playable, but um, to make my idea, in general, bishop b7 is more to castle. So if I really want to play bishop d7, rook c8, I should play, I think, directly. I prefer here bishop d7 to play rook c8, a6, knight a5. But I remember that bishop e7 is a hard move here. I remember bishop e3 and now bishop d7 with the idea rook c8 and the knight a5, a6, b5 was hard. But with bishop b3, I have no idea of how is the position here. And but okay, I play bishop e7, normal bishop e3, and now I decide to don't castle now, and white to see where he places the rooks and the king. In this type of Sicilian, in general, I prefer to keep the king in the center for the moment, and then let's see how develop the rest of the pieces for the queen, the bishop, the rook to c8, the pawn to a6 maybe, and then depends of where was the white play castle or not. Sometimes h5 is a useful move with the rook on h8, so in general I prefer to keep the king in the center. Um, okay, now that's the most common move was castle. Um, let's examine the main line. For example, bishop e3 castle, queen e2 can be normal. But now the typical black plan was a6 followed by queen c7 and b5. But now white have a plan with rook g1 and g4. And I don't remember all the line, but I don't really like to enter here. So I prefer to keep the king in the center for the moment and wait where the game develops. So now queen e2. rook c8. I don't know if this was the best move or not. I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, I don't want to play c because this looks like neither, more or less a Sosin variation with bishop c4 and bishop b3. And for the reason I didn't play c6 in the end, to the end response to an idol. I want to keep the game more in a classical way. Rook c8 castle. And now I take a interesting decision. I don't know if it was the best or not. Because here I take on d4 and I play queen a5. I have more options. For example, in the game I think about a6, but I don't like knight c6, bishop c6, and e5. And the another thing that I think in the game was knight a5, but I don't like knight db5. But here, knight d4 and knight queen a5 was a big change in the game, obviously. Mm, the machine recommends knight a5. The machine says that after knight here, I can simply take here, knight b3, knight b5, knight b3, a b3, and queen a5, and king b1, and knight takes a4. The tactic worked for me. I watched some of this in the game. Queen a5, sorry, king b1, and knight a4. It was that in the game. I didn't calculate everything, but I watched these lines. I think that I watched this line, yes. But I don't know what I didn't play 95. What's in now? It looks the smooth. My idea with bishop d7 and rook c8 was 95, obviously. So maybe I should calculate. I should put more emphasis calculating these lines because they are not so difficult. Simply take queen a5 and attacking queen b1 and 94. Yeah, I watched that in the game. Maybe I should play like that. Obviously, after knight a5, I have another option, like for example f3 simply. But now this is the position that more or less I want. Here I can maybe take on b3 or play b5. Maybe b5 or a6 b5 to place the knight on c4, for example. Here, instead of take on b3 directly, a6 b5, knight c4, and there are the positions that I want and that I want when I play bishop d7 or c8. But I don't know, to didn't calculate so much. I don't understand why I take here and queen a5. Because I was this position like okay for me. My plan, my first idea was playing b5 before, but after b5 I don't like e5 for her part. So then I decided to simply castle, bishop c6, knight d7, knight c5, or in one moment try to prepare b5, but I don't see a huge problem for me in this position. And I didn't see a clear plan for white to push me in some troubles. Here I think about f3, but I have in my response with h5, and f4 is not possible because, for example, f4 I have e5 and the bishop is coming to g4, f3, h5. I don't comment, but my other plan in the position was if a5. The problem is that it's never possible because he has the trick of bishop d2. But for example, he played rook e1 in the game, and here I think about e5, obviously, bishop e3, and typical same sacrifice, rook takes e3. But here the problem is bishop d2, because if b takes 94 and black is, I think, better. But the problem is he has bishop d2 all the time. And here, he plays rook h1, the machine recommends, but I don't really like, I prefer king b1, a more flexible move. Instead of f3, because f3 can be possible, but in general I think that the white plan was f4, or h3, f4, something like that. So I don't like rook h1 because now he defined her rook, and now I can castle, and his rook is in the center, and now I place my king in the king side. For the reason is that I want to wait with the king in the center, because if here I have for example, king b1 uh, castle, maybe now I can play like h4, for example, or some idea with g4, h4, e5. But for the reason is that I prefer to keep the king in the center, and now that he moves the rook, now castle. And here, for example, if I don't, that doesn't matter this move for me because I can simply change pieces, and I think that this position is equal. And now my plan was rook fd8, bishop c6, and knight d7, or simply bishop c6, knight d7. all the time the idea of b5 doesn't work because e5 and I don't like that. For example, f3, he plays f3. For example, I was thinking b5, but the time e5 takes, queen a6, but I don't like that position. This knight can be, the f6 knight is pinned because the d7 pawn is under attack. And my ideas of before doesn't work so much because knight d4, so I don't like my plan of b5. But here, for white, I prefer, instead of a rook a1, I prefer king b1 to play with black, to be then define where the rook is going to go. So, but okay, rook h1 is a good move. Castle and here f3, I think it's okay. But they are not, maybe not the most aggressive move because the white plan should be f4, in my opinion. If now, because with f3, now what is the white plan to enter my position? My plan is more or less clear. Bishop c6, knight d7, and knight c5. Or rook f d8 is always useful, I think. But what is here the white plan with f3? Yeah, maybe a3. The machine likes a3 so much. I don't know. I don't really know how why sorry, but maybe now why should attack in the queen side with g4 or f4 or something like that. The machine like the plan of a3, and if, for example, bishop c6, I, then in general it's played the machine idea is a3, bishop c6, king b1. Just keep the position solid for the moment and don't define the pawn for the moment. And if I continue with my plan of knight d7, now he came with f4. That's the idea of keep the pawn on, for example, knight d7, f4. That's the idea of keep the pawn on f2 for the moment. Because with the knight on f6, and especially the bishop on d7, here f4 is never possible because e5. And now bishop g4 is coming. But after the bishop plays on c6, and sorry, bishop c6, king b1, and then I place on d7, f4 case with so much strength because now the bishop g4 themes are never possible. And this is why the machine keeps the opponent too, because the white plan was play f4 obviously, but for the moment you can play that. So it's better to improve your king safety, playing a3, king b1, small improvements, and waiting what black will do because black haven't a big plans obviously, and b5 is never possible, so black haven't a deadly attack to the king. So it's better to improve a little bit with a3, king b1, and then if black plays the plan of bishop c6, knight d7, now play f4. Okay, he plays f3, and now I was thinking instead between rook f d8 and bishop c6, but I realized that he can be threatening queen f2, so I prefer with bishop c6 after queen f2. I think that I have knight d7, and that who have in the game bishop takes a7 and b6. So, and in general, I'm not really sure about the if rook d8 was so useful, but I'm really sure that bishop c6 with the pawn knight d7, knight c5 was. I think that was more useful than rook f d8, and then machine give me the reason. A rook f d8 is the machine prefers a little bit, but bishop c6 is a good move too. The problem was f4. I think about that during the game. Bishop c6 and here f4 in two tempos. Because now the bishop on d7 is not threatening e5 and f takes and bishop d4. I think about f4 during the game, but don't scare me so much. And here I have this pawn sacrifice so interesting to try to take the advantage. Sorry. Uh, Queen f2 and here I should play b5. I play knight d7, which is a bad move because I have a b5 here. I think about that, but I don't I don't know why I didn't want to play. I I don't like bishop takes a7, but here I have a huge initiative. Bishop a7. I can with before, but in general I have or knight d7. Leave this pawn that doesn't matter too much because now my a5 is open. I coming with before, for example. Before was the best move, but for example knight d7. was advantage too. Now I'm threatening 95 and I have a great position here. I evaluate but this pawn sacrifice. I play so passive with 97. Now he plays 23. Now not the most aggressive move, but now I don't know what white is doing. Now I'm coming with 95, so why should make something? I think maybe king b1 95, but for example here I plan to play like this, and I think that white is not doing nothing. The machine prefer white, but I don't understand really what white is doing. Now queen g3 is a strong k5 and bishop b3. That's the idea. Queen g3 now at this moment because black having queen g5. All the time king b1 is a good move because black have no great moves and you keep up the tension and depends of what black plays. You play one thing or another, but all the time king b1 was a great move. In general, in all the Sicilian, king b1 is always good. But okay, he plays queen g3. Now after trade queen, I feel that I'm so comfortable. This move for first surprised me a little bit because I don't understand why he trade her good bishop. But after I calculated after take I can defend the d6 pawn. So I should go back to e7. Now he can take on e7 because I play b6. So now I don't know what to do with white. Then her plan of 92 looks a little bit strange for me because he's giving up the bishop pair. I don't understand so much 92 really. But the knight is not doing so much on c3. Maybe a3 to prepare knight c5 and play here bishop e2. Maybe it can be a good option. Knight here, knight c5. And now what's in the game now? I thought that I can play, for example, bishop b7 instead of take on b3 so fast. Because now he can play bishop. He will have bishop c4, knight a4. But now he have bishop b6. Don't take, and I think that this is good for me. So maybe I can play bishop d7 instead of takes or flag. Maybe there are not so much different, but maybe it can be the same. Finally, I'm going to play knight takes b3, but I prefer to keep this move instead of playing soldier. But okay, doesn't matter for the machine. Doesn't matter anything. And now we reach a equal position. I have the bishop pair, but he have no space, and especially I have the d6 weakness who difficults me so much have an active play. If the if white plays careless, maybe I can have advantage playing b5, a5, h5, winning space in the both flanks. When you have the bishop pair, it's always a good idea to win space in the and to advance the rook pawns in general. That's the typical plan when you have the bishop pair in endgame to advance the rook and the knight pawns, especially the rook pawns. In general, we win space everywhere. But the problem is my d6 weakness. To difficult me everything so much. Okay, he came with 92. The idea was simply bishop f4, attacking the pawn. a5, defending the a7 pawn. And now he came with bishop f4. During the game, I don't think that it was so hard. And I think that I should play no passive, but yes, maybe passive, yes, is the correct word of that. Okay, bishop f4, rook c6, rook d2, and here I go so directly with g5, rook c8, b5, b4. I want to create counter play against the c2 pawn, but this doesn't work. It's only trades once in a draw position. I here should play rook d8. If he attack, I defend quietly, and I really like now watching down my position. I have everything defended, and now it's time to take a space with g5, h5, b5, and I don't know what I can do to counter that. So maybe if I play rook d8, I can win the game. but I try to also deal with g5, rook c8, trying to look for counterplay against the c2 pawn, but this only is going to end in a trade of pawns. So this part I don't like anything how I play because I have the bishop pair and I enter in a direct play who didn't benefit me nothing. Here again it's time to rook d8 after g5 bishop g3 rook d8 bishop e8 and okay we are here. And sorry, I missed one thing in the game. Here, knight b5 was the best move. This is 3 instead of rook e1, but okay. Rook e d1, and here b5 is I have more or less blunder, yes, it's a huge mistake. Here, I should play like only good move e5. That's my only reasonable answer. I don't like knight c3, but this is going to be an equal position. Take, or something like that. Or king b1, and then 95 or something. I don't know. This can lead to a equal position, but the problem is that after b5, I during the game I thought that king b1 was the best move. But the problem is all the time I miss that after the knight reached b5, he attacked knight a7 attacking the other rook. I miss that all the time. For example, in the game I calculate knight b5 before knight b5, and here what I was. One moment. Yeah, and here think I simply think about I don't remember it. D5. Yes, during the game I think E5 and I'm happy with D5. But I miss all the time knight A7. I miss, and again during the game I miss that the knight attack A7. So here with the move B5 I can enter in a very bad position because after knight A3 he's attacking here, he's attacking on D6, on B5, and after B4, knight B5, and he's attacking D6 with 4 pieces, and attacking knight A7, which is the real problem of knight C3, who is attacking knight A7. So I completely missed that during the game. So this part I play so bad. Yeah, I don't like really the game, but this part I play so bad. Very bad. While like he played him b1, bishop b8, and now knight c3. I was calculating that rook c5, but it's going to lead to the same more or less. Okay, for example, if he plays bishop b6, it's the same. But I was calculating bishop f2, rook c8, bishop here, rook here. I was with this line in my head and rook a8 before or before of my parts, but I have not so much time in the glory. I simply decide to play rook c7, which is the same. And after the here, he offered me a draw and I reject. But now calculating that, I thinking I don't like that because no, I don't like that position. So here I should take on a4, the rook c2. This is all force. And here I offer draw and my opponent take the draw. But he have this option, rook d8, king d7, takes. And he told me that he only calculated rook d7. And during the game, and in the analysis, I told him that after rook c5, I can be winning because now his king is cut and I'm going to expand in the king side. But he has the idea of rook b7, rook b5. But I completely miss in the game and during the analysis or king a2, king b3, and then rook b7, rook b5. I completely missed that. But the move that annoyed me so much was rook c1. If I go to a8, I don't like that position. Rook a8, rook c5, and now the king is coming to b5, and I think that this is close to be losing. And if I trade here, rook takes, king f6, sorry, king f6, king d2, king e5, king d3, and now I have a good way to make a draw with g4. Taking contemplate if he takes king f4. That's maybe the only way to make draw this king thing. Because king d6, I think about that, but this is losing with king c4. But g4 is just came just in time. If he takes 4 and if he can here now I have time to take pawns. For example, king f4, king 5, take. Well, take or no, or maybe f5 because if I take on e4 he promote with check. Sorry, yes. A5 takes take here and maybe king g4 or king e2. I don't know what I should go with again. Maybe king e3. Maybe king e3. h4, f4 and both players promote and this should be a draw. But it was so hard to me to draw this thing. In fair I should play the idea of here should be a draw. First I need to play first I need to enter in the king's endgame. The rook endgame, the machine say that can be defended, but I don't really like. And here I should play like that. This first is sacrifice. And then maybe then the rest is not so complicated, sorry f5. And there can be a draw, but I make well offering him draw because I don't like this position for me, but in general, bad game. The opening, okay, but first, if I play bishop d7, rook c8, is to play knight a5, obviously. But after, yes, if I play like that, I should play knight a5, obviously. But now, knight d4, bishop takes queen e5, and yes, okay. Here I should sacrifice and play more active and sacrifice. This is a Sicilian, you should play more active. If I b5, sacrifice the pawn and play, and if I play b5, I maybe can win the game. Play enough. And now, in the here, in the in the bishop pair position, I should play more quietly, defending the pawn, and now continue with my bishop pair advantage, taking space in the both sides, and maybe can win the game. And now I make a huge mistake with b5, who he can approve. Use because he missed the same idea as me, knight c3, knight b5, attacking a7, who is the thing that I missed. And then after king b1, I take well offering draw here because I think that he's going to accept because he offered me here and I reject, and now I look that I should offer. So okay, not the best game to continue the tournament. Tomorrow I'm going to play with White against another 22 player. So let's see if tomorrow goes better. See you.